Hello again everybody, Sebastian Keynes here. This is going to be another Watch Our Rolls video. In this video, I am going to be covering news from the Forerunners Server. So one of the things that happened while I was gone is that we've noticed that there were some changes made to Volka. So just to quickly go over them, and this is something that I want to try out and see how much more effective she becomes, because they did increase her damage a little bit. But one of the major differences, as you can see here, here's the Forerunner account. They extended her range by 1 tile. And so now you're going to be able to place her behind the tank and see if you can make her work for you. But I do want to see what we can do with her now that she has this little enhancement to her. The other change that I noticed, so there is that one. So you can kind of see here from the Forerunner server that is only still one, or the public server is still 1 tile. Here in the Forerunner now we're playing with a Volka that has two tiles. The other change was her basic attack has changed as well. So what it is right now is that she can deal attacks up to 3 enemies in range, dealing 100% damage, and you can scale that up to 120%. So definitely she was capable in handling multiple enemies, and that's what we like to use her as a side hero in AMR, especially if you were advancing, because you knew that she could handle all those little waves coming at you while others were taking care of the boss. So here now in the Forerunner server, you see that has now been increased to 5. So now she's going to be able to deal with 5 enemies. I wondering if they're trying to entice you into using her in the new gear dungeon, or is it that there is other content that is going to come out in the future where she is going to be key to this? Then that's why they increase the amount of enemies that she can attack in range. I was looking at her ultimate, and I didn't see any changes there. That looks to be about the same. So that they decided to keep as is. The HP regeneration is the same. The one thing that I did notice is that in one of her passives was, at least here in the public server, it says that her attack consumes two stacks of the Scarlet Ferment, dealing 260, which you can then scale up to 280, 300, and it can then attack up to 10 adjacent enemies, is what they described. Sometimes language like this is very vague in the game, and so I think that they decided, and then it says inflicting damage reduction on them lasting for 3 seconds. So in the new version of this Volka, it now says that if any marked enemy, let me see, go right here, the passive, see. All right, so it says dealing 260% AoE damage now, and now increases to 290 and 320 with skill, skill crystals. So she's supposed to be doing a little bit more damage to that. So I'm gonna have to get some skill crystals if I want to test that out. But now it says it attacks up to 10 enemies within 2 tiles of her. So is it within the 2 tiles that is shown here, or is it actually 2 tiles around her? That's what I'm gonna be curious about. If it's just straight up, I don't see this too much of a benefit, because how often are you gonna have 10 enemies coming at you? So if it's around her, that can be really we can get an opportunity of that. This skill here, I did not see any changes. The one thing that I did notice though was that they changed her Awaken 5. I know some of you are not looking at beating Tide 160 yet, but you see here in the public server, it says that she deals 30% extra damage to enemies inflicted with debuffs. That now has changed. So they actually added a little bit more wording here. Now it's going to be 45% extra damage to targets inflicted with debuffs. And this effect will the Midnight Requiem cost only one stack of the Scarlet Ferment. So apparently it was costing more. It was costing 2. So this will only cost 1, if that is the case. 3 and 1 remain the same. Luckily for us that they did not touch 1, because there's so many things that we use it for in that regard. So those are the changes that they made to Volka here in Forerunners, and that is something that I'm looking forward to see if we can make her work. But I do need the crystals to get her damage ramped up a little bit and see what we can do. We can actually try to test that as she is, because they did increase it by 20%. So we could possibly see what she can do now with that additional oomph. In other news that I have noticed, and that this is something that I do want your opinion on, especially if you're on the global server, because I want you to think about how Arena is at its current state right now, that these are now the changes they are proposing to Arena. So it says now that they're going to offer additional random rewards for offensive victories. We do not know exactly what these additional rewards are going to be, so we're going to have to wait when this update rolls out, and then we're able to see what exactly they're adding in addition to what we're currently getting right now. The second change that they're going to make is that for Overlord rank, so I'm taking Overlord and the Apex Overlord, you will not see the names, the guilds, and the BP of the opponent that you are facing. So you're going in blind. You won't know your opponent. This is something that when I used to play Raid Shadow Legends, we thought that this was one way that we could combat the boosting that happened in Arena. And I think that this is probably one of the resolutions that they're trying to do to make sure that the top guilds are not boosting players that join to get the top 1 avatar, because that's exactly what they do. They'll help you out, they'll boost you up at the beginning of the week, and then it's going to be your job to try to stay up top and then try to get that avatar. Now, if you do not see who you are fighting, maybe that'll alleviate some of the problem, and you will actually get top 1 if you are based on your skill and not based on the guild that you're currently in. But let me know if this is something that you're going to be for, that you're not going to be able to face the opponents. Here is the other big change, and I want you to think about this, because this is in this account here in the Forerunners server. It is really difficult based on some of the rotations, especially the flying one, anti-air. Because of the marksman that I have, it's really hard to sometimes push Arena. And so I kind of like wobble in that Platinum 2 trying to get to Platinum 3. But once I'm Platinum 3, I usually have a okay time trying to stay there, collect the weekly rewards, and then go fight it out again to try to stay try to get into 2 and then fight into 3, because we're D-ranked one whole ranking when it resets. So if I finish on 3, I go down to 2. One of the things that they're doing now is that if you do get defeated in Platinum 3, you are now going to lose 10 points instead of 6. And I'm assuming that this here is based on an offensive match. So that's usually what happens when I'm on offense and I do lose a battle. I usually lose 6. Now we're losing 10. And then now additionally, whatever you lose on the defensive side, if somebody's able to get you down, you're going to lose anywhere between 10 to 15 points on defense. So you can really get the rank really quick. I think that what they're trying to do now is to make sure that you keep doing Arena and you keep investing time into that content, because they know that you are not really playing it because of how dull it is. All right. When it comes to the campaign stages, they are going to say that they're going to introduce a takeover feature on hard campaign in the first 5 chapters. It said that you're going to be able to automate it, the first 5 extra strategy, once you have your heroes geared. That could be it. I don't know. We'll figure that out. I'm actually going to be interested to see if we can make this work, even though I already cleared it. So we'll see. what this entails, and if it does roll out into the global server, we can certainly try to test this on a new account. So we'll see what that comes out about. They said they're gonna optimize the stun and freeze effects. It says, okay, so the units inflicted with stun and freeze cannot dodge, okay? However, units not inflicted with freeze can still that potential freeze and stat infliction. So just a little bit of change. Make sure that these effects are actually a little bit more. So once you do proc it, that's it. You got them. Yeah, they'll slow down. You'll be able to do whatever damage you're going to do. They're gonna finally fix Esmee, so that's great, because it does say that it was supposed to, her venom was supposed to last 10 seconds, and it's actually only lasting 5. So that's another another fix there. When it comes to the marksman Liam, so they changed the whole poison debuff, so now it's doing less damage, but he actually now has a neurotoxin. So when this rolls out, his icon will change and it will distinguish it from the poison effect, which that make me wonder if they're going to be introducing neurotoxin heroes, so they make him different from poison. I really didn't see the point on changing poison, because I think it wasn't like something that dominated the game, and the few opportunities that you did get to use those heroes, now they're just obsolete. So we'll see what happens. They're gonna say that the daily quest will grant you 10 auto fights now instead of 6. There's gonna be some idle rewards that grant 2 more auto fight chances, and they're gonna optimize the music and the sound effects. So this is coming in the next patch here. He says April 6th here in the Forerunners, and if things roll out well, there are no bugs per se, then they'll roll out this into the public server. But let me know the changes of Arena. What do you think? Is there something here that is concerning, or anything that you see as a challenge that will provide an additional challenge? This blinding thing on Overlord, this is going to be great. So we'll see how this plays out. So that's one big change here in the game that is going to be upcoming. That'll do it for Forerunner news. So we'll get to try out Volka. We'll see how she's doing now. That extra tile extension should make her play a little bit more. Good for progression. I think that is a big plus for those that do push the storyline early on and try to get her. So that'll do it for this video, folks. I want to thank you all very much for your support. Hit like, subscribe on your way out, and I will see you all next time in the next video.
Defeat won't define me.